Welcome back to Dubsy Bricks for another episode of Building the Tantive in Lego, the build series where we're making a large-scale Tantive 4 from Star Wars A New Hope. Now, in the last update, I worked on these sections just here, getting the sloping ready for the details to come. Now, on one side, it's going to be panelled. On the other side, this side here, we're going to have it exposed in certain areas so you can see the details inside, such as the escape pod, and one of them is going to have the escape pod jettisoned, so you'll see the mechanics that hold it all in place, or at least that's the plan. Now, in the last video, somebody asked how long this vessel was. The length of it at present is around about 3 meters. I think it's just a little bit over, and that's when you come up to this red ring just here. Now, there is still a little bit more of the engine to go on the back of that, so it's going to be over 3 meters by the time it's finished. Now, another comment that came up, or a couple of comments that came up, was regarding this part here. Now, I lowered the floor in here in the last update as well, and this is for the conference chamber, and people were saying that it was in the wrong place. It's a floor too high, and I'm fully aware of that, and I thought I mentioned it in the video, so apologies if I didn't or it wasn't clear. But I've got a load of Technic structure in here which is helping to keep this as strong as possible, and I need it to be as strong as possible as I want to take this to conventions. So I need to make sure that when I'm carrying it, it doesn't break. And it's going to be very, very heavy when I do move it. This one here is considerably heavier because of all of the bricks, the skin that's on there already, and it's not even finished. And this one's going to be even heavier. So I need to make sure that strength is the first priority with the build. So if I was to go lower down, then I'm going to have to lose some of that Technic structure, and then I risk weakening the ship. And that's one thing, obviously, I don't want to do. So for that reason, I am having to use a little bit of artistic license and put rooms not necessarily where they're supposed to be, but where people can still see them and where I can still tell the little stories on there. Now, in this update, I will have a look at that area and just see if it is possible to bring it down any further. If I could get it down and not lose any of the structural integrity to the ship, then I will do so. But I don't think I can, but as I said, we'll have a look. So without further ado, let's start having a look at that section just there and see if there is any way that we can lower that floor anymore. And here we have the side bit removed from the top here, and I've also taken the top section off as well. Now, this come off very easily. It's in sections, so I can easily clip it all back together. But just looking at the structure in here, I do think that I can lower the floor in here a little bit more, enough to get the room potentially under this part here. If I can, that'd be fantastic. I'll have so much room to play with that conference chamber and other details I want to add to this. And I do want this build to be the best build possible. I want this to be the most impressive looking ship that I can make it. And if that means taking a little bit longer to do it by redoing things like this, then that's what I'm going to do. So let's start off by stripping this back even further, see how low we can get down in there without losing any of the structural integrity of the ship. And there's the guts ripped out of the centre of the Tantive, and really happy that I've done it this way. It's working out to a certain extent a lot better than had I built it like this to start with. And what I mean by that is I managed to keep the whole structural side of this exactly how I want it, angle wise, size wise, and now I can build around it and get all of the strength back into the build whilst keeping that there. Now, the only problem I've got at the moment are these Technic beams just here that are in the way, and ideally I could do with some lift arms, but I don't think I've got any lift arms in that length. So I'm just going to have a good search through all of my pieces, and then if I can swap those over, that would be fantastic, because then it means I can build the conference room about another 3 or 4 studs further back into the structure. So let me go and have a search through the pieces, and then we'll be able to tell what we can do with this build. And I feel like I'm making a little bit of progress here now. I've removed all of the beams that were protruding and replaced them with smaller ones, correct ones. I managed to find some in the collection. There are only 4 bits that stick up now. We've got 2 just here and 2 down this end as well, and there's nothing I can do with those as they are part of the display stand. So I've started raising this up by 1 plate, and there's now going to be another level of plates over the entirety of it, filling up all the holes. The 2 bits that stick up on this end and the 2 bits on that end, they won't be plated over the top of because they're in the way. I'll plate around them, and then when I tile it all off, that will cover those over, so there'll be no problem at all with that. Now I have added a few more beams along this section here just to add some additional strength. And I did notice a couple of the lift arms weren't in the correct place. I thought I'd sorted all of them out last week, but clearly I hadn't. So I am just going to double check that side before I plate this off, just so I can make sure that it is all correct. Now my one concern at the moment is there's a lot of strength in this at the moment, or it certainly feels like it. However, I'm a little bit worried that when there's a lot more weight on this part, will it have enough strength? So I do want to do something to try and help counteract that. So it's just one of those things I'm just going to have to keep an eye on whilst we're building. But anyway, let's turn the build round, have a look on that side, make sure that's all correct. And then once I've done so, I can then start plating this all off, and then we'll be ready to start adding the walls for the conference room. And there's the floor all plated off, ready for the walls to go in, and I've just got to work out now how I'm going to go about this, what I'm going to be putting in here. Now I've just rested this escape pod in. It's going to be a steeper angle than it is at the moment. It's probably going to be more like so. Now it would be nice to have a corridor going along this section just here, where you see R2 and 3PO go into the escape pod. And I could possibly do that. If the escape pod is that far over, we could have the wall come in here. So the corridor would probably come to around about there. My concern is, though, I want to make sure that people can see as much detail as possible. Now, unless this was on a very low table, you're going to have to be quite tall to be able to see down if I put too much here. So if I put a corridor along here, it's going to be obstructing the view behind it. So let's have a good think about how we're going to do this. I'll get the outline of it all put down like I've done with the bricks at the back there, and I'll check back in and show you what we've decided on. And there have been a fair few changes to this part of the build, and I've managed to maximise the space here. I've moved Technic beams back. I've put them on the opposite side, like this one here, for example. Previously it was that side. And yeah, just making the most of the area that we've got here. Now this is going to be the conference room just here, and that is going to be the room where Vader chokes Antilles. Now I can appreciate these are not in the correct place of the structure. However, I've just got to use the spaces that I can find in here. It's very difficult to get everything in the exact position where it should be. So that's what we're going to be doing. Now we're going to have the escape pods down here, or we're going to have one missing there, which is the one that C-3PO and R2-D2 escaped in. But I am going to have the other three sitting in here like we've got there, and they will be removable. So I will just be able to remove them from the top so you can see into this part of the build even better. Now I was originally going to just tile this off and have it like there. Then I was going to have the corridor come up so you could only peer down. However, there is going to be a roof on here, or part of it. So you're not going to be able to see into it that easily. Now the bit here where Vader is choking Antilles, you'll be able to peer through from here and see it. So that's all okay. But what I've decided I'm going to do is have the wall that's built up to a certain level, and then have the remaining part of it so you can remove it. So if I want to just show off the corridor along here, then you can do so. But if you want to look into the actual conference room, then again, you can just peel the wall off, job done. I think that's going to enable me to maximize all of the scenes in here, so get as much detail as possible into the build without restricting the views on other parts of it. So what I need to do now is just peel up some of these grey plates here. These arches here, they need to be sunk into the structure, so that the stud just there is level with these plates, so I can tile over it. I need to order some in black, so I'm just going to have to leave the holes for those along this section here. I am going to be placing a Lego order later on today, so we'll be able to get a few parts we need for the skin of the cockpit area over there as well. But hopefully we'll be able to get those parts in relatively quickly, and we'll be able to do a lot more progress on here. So let's get those arches lowered into the plates here, and also make a start on the walls. And we've gone pretty much as far as we can go with the parts we have available to us at the moment. And also, I don't really want to go up much further until I've got the parts in I need. So, for example, down the bottom here, we've got some snot bricks, we've got some headlight bricks, and they should be 1x1 Technic bricks. And I haven't got any in my collection in white. So I have finally placed that order with Lego.com, and it says the order has already been dispatched, which is great. So that means I'll be able to get those done really, really soon, which will be amazing. Can't wait to get that all sorted out. Now with this section here, I think it's going to be just about the right size for having the table in the centre there with the minifigures. This room here is obviously where Vader is going to be strangling Antilles. But yeah, all in all, really happy with the space we've managed to get inside here. It was definitely the right idea going down into the ship rather than just having a small room up the top. I don't think it would have been possible to make it look good enough on this build. So yeah, really glad I've gone down. And also I'm glad that I've gone the way that I have. I end building this all up and then dismantle it and going down slowly but surely, because it's enabled me to keep all of the strength in there. So if anything has felt a little bit weak, then I've moved the Technic brick here and there, or moved a plate, put additional strength in. And this section here changed numerous times because I was trying to get as far back into there as possible. So I've amended the Technic structure along there quite a lot. And it's turned out that by using the Technic structure with basic plates and bricks, I've been able to keep the strength as much as I need to on that part. So that is all good. Now I was hoping to work on the escape pod section here in this update. However, I don't think it's a sensible thing. I need to concentrate, get this all finished up, and then we'll turn our attention to this. Now at the bottom of this, what I'll be doing is, although the panels are all going to be plated, there's going to be bricks in there as well, because I want to use these arches and inverted arches as well, as I think they're going to be absolutely perfect for what I achieve, because I can make them just a fraction bigger than this part here, so it is loose and can slide out of the spaceship quite easily. But I do need to work on the escape pod, and again, that's something I'm really looking forward to doing. We did do one previously, which is just here. It's been stripped of its curved slopes, so I need them for something else, but it is way too big for the build. So yeah, that's something else we'll be working on in the very near future. Anyway, that's all we have time for. I hope you've enjoyed the update. If you have, please remember to give us a big thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future content on the channel. If you know anybody else you think would be interested in building the Tantive in Lego, if you could share the channel with them, it'd be much appreciated. Anyway, thanks for popping on by, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.